Now, parents of Achimota Preparatory School are vowing to resist with their blood what they describe as a planned takeover of the school by the Ghana Education Service. At a press conference here in Accra, Chairman of the Parents Teacher Association, Henry Chum, called on the Minister of Education and all students to intervene and avert what he says imminent clashes on Monday, January 27, which is the date for the purported takeover of the school, which is not a public institution.
And it's not going to be easy, because if they said the military, they couldn't find it easy. That day, some of us will put our life on danger. I'm ready to die for this school. Because in 1984, I couldn't step here. I was eager for my sister's daughter to attend here. They said no. Today, this school is performing better, and you want to collapse it. If Monday, we'll be here. They should come and kill us.
I brought my baby number 1 here. And when I saw that he was doing well, that's why I brought the other 2. So if you come and then you tell me, say, you want government to take over. When I've seen government school around, and normally here, teachers are sitting there selling a condensed in class, condensed toffee. They'll sell it to the students instead of teaching the students. You see them walking about by heart. When you come here, all the schools around, and you see Achimota Preparatory School kid, you know this kid is from Achimota Preparatory School. Without his uniform, you even identify and say, this is Achimota Preparatory School kid. And we have 35 children in a class here. You want to bring other children, take over and bring other children, so that's 75 in a class. Why?
My parents, and I have 3 children in this school. We are concerned about the takeover of the school because, to be honest, we have done a lot to maintain this school from our parents, from our resources, from our own sweat and toil. If the government wants to take over the school, I think the government has the right procedure to come to the people who manage the school for us to take over the school. But to just come and take over like you are bullying us, we think it's not fair. I mean, the school is not into politics. The school is into parents who want to educate their children. I mean, when we were children, expat children were coming to this school. Some of us, we couldn't even dare have friends from this school. And this school was on a top level and a top flight. Now, the other private government schools that are not well managed by the government. So why should the government want to come to a private entity where it's well managed? When you take it around the school lacks few things, but the parents are trying hard to make sure it works.
Calling on the Minister of Education to call to support us to protect this enviable legacy of Achimota Preparatory School and GHS. We, the PTA, are not going to relent in our resistance to the unlawful action by the GES, and we use all legal and lawful means possible to protect the interests of this school. What we're trying to put across is the fact that we are not going to sit aloof. If the government has an interest in the school, already we started some developmental project. Almost every project you see in this school was done by the parents. We inherited just an iota of structure, and there have been the crèche. Get there and see. Get to the classroom. We started a tiling program in the school, all through the benevolence of the parents. We are not going to sit down for a group of people who have clandestinely worked out a modality, seemingly to make it look like government school and later on take over. This is the snippets of information we are getting. This is the snippets of information we are getting. So we have, personally, I have spoken to the sector minister, the deputy minister, who has asked us to go ahead. So as to where this is coming from, we don't want any clash, and we shall resist it with our blood and our soul.
Parents of the Achimota Preparatory School, they have here in the studio Wisdom ATTA is a member of the Interim Management Committee, and Edward TOGBOR, who is also a member of the Interim Management Committee. So first of all, you're welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
So help us understand, what is the Interim Management Committee and which organization is this committee managing?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to air our views to the public once again. The Interim Management Committee, as it is being mentioned, is a management that has been put together to manage the school in the interim because we don't have a substantive board at the moment.
Okay.
However, it's because of making sure that things are put in place. That is why this board is there. And a lot of things has taken place, in terms of making sure that things go on very well in the school. And that is why this interim management has also been, put in place to continue.
Okay. Help us, those who don't know about Achimota Preparatory School, help us understand exactly how did this school come about and how is the school managed?
All right. Like my Mr. TOGBOR said, Achimota Preparatory and JHS, they started from the colonial era. The expatriates who were then working on the Achimota School, which is the former university then, their wives had to put themselves together to take care of their children. So that's how it started. Started with the expatriate children, and along the line, Ghanaian parents who were working also joined. So then it became the expatriate and the Ghanaians. So when it was time for them to leave, they left the school in the hands of the parents who had their children in the school then with the teachers. And so a PTA was formed. And since then, the school has been run as a PTA school.
By the PTA?
By the PTA. By the PTA. We have, the PTA becomes the council for the school. Then out of the PTA, we select the board members who man the affairs of the school.
Okay.
Currently, we don't have a substantive board, like I said. So in the absence of the board, we have the IMC, which is the Interim Management Committee, that, are mandated to do the work of the board till a substantive board is put in place.
Okay, I'm just curious, for people who will hear the story, they want to find out, is the current management team of the school backed by any legal, regime, any legal processes? Have you undergone any legal processes, to give the interim committee, as you call it, the legal backing to do what it does? Because managing a school also requires some sort of expertise.
Yeah.
How do you answer that question?
The IMC is, or the school, we have a constitution. We have the constitution by which we operate. And so in the constitution, in the absence of a substantive board, IMC is selected. And then the house, which is the council, endorses them. Before you are selected, you go through some processes, to see whether you are qualified. And we went through all these processes. And so I would say that the constitution of the school backs the IMC.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, in the press conference that we just played, the person who led the press conference makes a lot of accusations that you need evidence to back. What happened that occasion this press conference? You received a notice? Yeah, you can go, Mr. TOGBOR, if you want to.
In actual fact, it was a letter that was inviting us to the GES regional office, Accra, and there was just one item to discuss the restructuring of the school, to which personally I raised eyebrows, because to restructure the school, in what sense? The GES, for instance, we don't have any direct relationship by way of finance. And so that was the first thing that came to mind. And so restructuring in that side, that was what actually, you know,
you didn't understand. Have you
understand.
taken your time to ask them what they mean? Because now this is the Ghana Education Service.
That's right.
And so, and it is under the Ministry of Education. They're supposed to have oversight responsibility
That's
over
right.
education in this country.
That's right.
So have you asked them the nature of the restructure? And I'm sure that there must have been some sort of arrangements between you and the ministry when it started, no?
Yes. And so when we actually honored the invitation, I didn't find any discussion which sought to say that they really wanted to restructure the school.
Why
in
did
the
you say
sense
so?
that, yes, because when we were invited, in fact, the letter copies were made to certain other, you know, people. The Achimota basic headmistress, she was also there, and then the Achimota senior high, the board chairman was also there, and then a few other people. And in fact, most of the people there were from the Achimota school, you know, that enclave. And so it was, you know, the way the discussion went, it didn't seem to, you know, do anything like restructuring other than taking over the school.
Why do you say so? What if you're getting it all wrong?
Yes, I'm saying so because what actually went on there, you know, describes everything.
For those of us who were not there,
Yes.
help us understand. Give us a mental picture. What words did they use that makes you, or that suggests to you that they want to take over the school?
Yes. In fact, they made it blunt over there that they were taking over the school because the school was a government school. And we had to tell them that it wasn't a government school. And they found it difficult to believe that. All their premise was that because the school was on Achimota school land, so to say, that once the school is on a government land or a land that had been acquired by government, then the school was a government school. And again, once the school was a government school, why was it that we were charging school fees? And so we had contravened the government's you know, policy that government schools should not take monies from, you know, parents, for that matter. And so that was why I gathered that they had it all wrong. There was even a legal officer there, so to speak.
I mean, it would be good if we had the Ghana Education Service as well as part of this conversation, so we can get their side of it, because it's sort of becoming just your side of the story. But I'm sure that subsequently we'll try and get them. But you also mentioned at the press conference that you have your own suspicions. Part of the suspicions being that you think that someone wants to take over, pretend that they're taking it over as government school, and then hand it over to a private individual. What's feeding that suspicion, and what evidence do you have to back it?
All right, let me take it from where he stopped. When we went for the meeting, even though the letter was addressed to ATS, I mean, Achimota Preparatory, copies, I mean, people were given copies, we realized that people who were not directly involved in the matter were rather given the opportunity to talk. And we were not allowed. Anytime something comes up and you want to explain, they ask you to shut up. So at a point we had to walk out of the meeting. Now the particular person who was allowed to take over the entire conversation and was telling, I mean, what should happen, and that same person we have had, like our chairman said today at the press conference, we have, when we took over as IMC, called the chairman to a meeting as an individual and was telling the chairman of the, what, you know, if the chairman should cooperate with him, what they stand to make out of it. I mean, to turn the whole place into
telling the chairman, so you're saying that when you went into the meeting, there was a particular person, and a particular person on the list of those who were copied in that letter. This person took over the meeting. After that, he called the chairman, which is your chairman, and tried to lure him into accepting some sort of deal. Yeah,
in fact, this happened before we went for the meeting. Calling the chairman to have that deal with him happened before we went for the meeting. So we were surprised we saw him there.
Okay.
Yes. And so we suspect strongly and that certain people are behind this, and it's the GES regional office is only fronting the whole thing, because we have had issues where we've gone to GES, we've gone past GES, and we're surprised that, I mean, we've gone past the regional office, and so we're surprised when the current director, yes, she's quite a new person there, and then she came. So we were thinking that probably she came to the office and saw a letter which she didn't know what it was about, so she was calling to find out what it was, the whole thing was about. But
so,
at the meeting, it was so clear, very blatant, that we should just get ready. They are coming to take over.
Okay, so you've again in that press conference you talk about fighting with your blood, etc. They gave you a date,
yes,
which is 27th.
Yes, 27th.
And you say that you clash with whoever comes to take over the school.
Yes.
Is that the best way to go? You have children in this school, who I believe will be in school on that day.
In fact, it's the children we want to protect. That's why we will not allow anybody to just... there are things that we are trying to hold back, but some document and stuff that we have intercepted, I mean, tells us that people will be coming there with forces. We have tried. In fact, we have written letters upon letters to GES. I mean, to the extent that we have even asked our lawyer to write a letter to them. But, I mean, nobody is paying heed to any of this. And so we have informed the police at Achimota about what is happening. And, yes.
Okay. So on 27th, what's going to happen?
We will be in school on 27th. We will be teaching normally.
You are teachers in the school yourself?
Yes, we are also teachers.
Okay,
yes.
I see. And what's going to be your next line of action? If someone, you believe that you own something and someone is trying to take it away from you, there are institutions, there are legal institutions that through which you can go to take it back. What's your next line of action?
I think that is why we have written to them and we have expressed all those sentiments. That, in fact, what is happening is very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate, because an educational sector doing this, what kind of message are we sending to our very own children? What we teach, is that what we practice? It's very sad. Now, if you look at the broader picture, this country is supposed to be, ahead of so many others in this subject.
What I actually want to understand is what your next line of action.
Exactly, that is what I'm explaining. Because we are not going to take any, different line other than what we have actually expressed. That there shouldn't be any form of agitation from their side. You understand? And this is what we are saying. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen.
Did you get any response from the ministry when you tried to contact them?
Up to
the
now,
education ministry.
Well, I mean, we've not. We've gotten some, but those are not official. Those are unofficial.
Unofficial
yes, that we have had.
All right.
But I just want to add that the letter we gave GS was from our lawyer, and so we will also not close our eyes on going to the court.
Yeah.
I mean,
that is what we have expressed.
We are not going to fight anybody as in, but
okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'll say a very big thanks to you for coming, but hopefully you protect the children and there won't be any clash on 27th. And since it's a story that's just starting, we'll be there to follow up. So I've been talking to Edward TOGBOR and William ATTA, Wisdom ATTA, I beg your pardon. They are interim management committee members of the Achimota Preparatory School. They believe that there is some sort of a conspiracy to take over a school they say they have manned for several years. that belongs to the PTA. Parents of the school take care of the school. They say they don't take any finances or money from the education ministry. They believe that there is a grand plan to take over this school as though it was government taking it over and then subsequently handed over to an individual. They don't have evidence to back that. But these are, they say they're not showing me the evidence. They say they have, and they're not showing us that evidence. We're trying to get to the Ministry of Education to get this side of the story. But on 27th, we'll be keeping our eyes on developments at the school. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. So do share your thoughts with us. What do you think of the stories we've told you so far? We've done Arrive Alive. We've also done Achimota. We've done a couple of other stories. That's our WhatsApp number. Drop us a message. We'll share it with the rest of the world. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll talk to you about cervical cancer and what actions are being taken. We'll also talk to you about an apprenticeship policy, a national apprenticeship policy. We'll also go to Wuhan, the city where a new virus is emerging. So far, 26 people have been killed. It started as 17 casualties, and within less than 24 hours, it's risen all the way to 26. That city of about 11 million people, as we speak, is on lockdown. We have one of those people who live there. We'll go live to Wuhan. Do stay with us here on The Pulse.